Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Have you ever wondered, all these giant skyscrapers, the technology we use, our governments, our laws, where did it all begin? Where was the first city, the first state, in other words, the first world as we know it established? The answer to this question takes us back thousands of years, like a time machine to the dawn of history, and the place we're landing is called Mesopotamia. In other words, the famous title we all know from our history books, the Cradle of Civilization. So, why here? Why Mesopotamia first? And not Egypt, China, or somewhere else? Let's uncover the secret of these ancient lands together. Mesopotamia literally means the land between two rivers. These two rivers are the Tigris and the Euphrates. Paradise. Agriculture meant a settled life, and a settled life was the first step towards civilization. But what made Mesopotamia so special wasn't just its fertile soil. The real story lies in four great revolutions that took place here and changed the entire course of human history. First, the rise of the first cities in history. Imagine a people called the Sumerians. They brought thousands of people together and founded the first metropolises in history, like Uruk, and Eridu. People were no longer just living in small villages. They were gathering in massive centers of commerce, government, and religion. Second, the invention of writing. This was perhaps the biggest revolution of all. The Sumerians invented the first ever writing system, which we call Cuneiform. From that point on, words were no longer fleeting, they were permanent. This allowed trade deals to be recorded, laws to be written down, and most importantly, knowledge and experience to be passed on to future generations. The revolution of knowledge began on that day. Third, the first laws and state governance. How do you maintain order in cities where tens of thousands of people live together? With rules, of course. The Babylonian king, Hammurabi, created the famous Code of Hammurabi, which can be considered the first detailed constitution in history. Society was no longer governed by arbitrary decisions, but by clear, written laws. The structure we call a state laid its foundations right here. And fourth, the dawn of science and technology. We owe the first steps of many things that make our lives easier today to the Mesopotamians. They invented the wheel, which fundamentally changed trade and transportation. They built massive irrigation canals to bring water from the rivers to their fields. They studied the sky to develop the calendar and laid the foundations of mathematics. Of course, the fire of civilization wasn't lit only in Mesopotamia. At almost the same time, great sparks were igniting in other parts of the world. In Egypt, magnificent pyramids rose to the sky on the lands gifted by the Nile River. In India and Pakistan, the Indus Valley was home to mysteriously well-engineered planned cities. And in China, a deep-rooted civilization that would continue uninterrupted for thousands of years began to blossom around the Yellow River. But that first spark that started it all, the great adventure that changed human history, where the foundations of cities, writing, government, and science were laid, was in Mesopotamia. The roots of the modern world we have today were planted thousands of years ago in those fertile lands. That is why Mesopotamia is not just the heritage of a single region, but the shared heritage of all humanity. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.